Ready to tie the knot? Today, I'm going to teach you how to make this spectacular fall wedding bouquet with all the materials and colors that reflect the season. So let's get started. I'm going to begin by showing you the materials we're going to use today for our fall bridal bouquet. This bucket has all the main flowers we're going to use. This is a beautiful red rose called Hearts. I have 3 stems of orange Protea, and then I have 2 stems of this gorgeous fall hydrangea that's in my garden. It's sort of green kissed with crimson. For the accent flowers, we have some mums, button mums in this burnt orange with a burgundy center, papaya colored spray roses, the papaya orange spray roses, and just to be different, some of this kind of periwinkle blue thistle. Those are the accent flowers. And then I have a whole lot of variety of greenery here. I have beautiful burgundy maple and some upright foliage that I cut from a crepe myrtle. It's like a burnished coppery burgundy color with a little bit of green. This is from crepe myrtle. This is another maple in here. I'm going to separate it out so that's in front of me. Seeded eucalyptus, and some vibrant green scented geranium. And I'm going to lay all the greenery out in front of me so that when I need to grab it, it's easy access. And for additional accent, I have some faux Privet berries. These are just black colored berries that I found at Hobby Lobby. These were 5 individual stems on a bunch, and it was only $6, so really inexpensive. And I don't have good Privet berry right now. They're sort of droopy looking and they kind of fall off. But I think a little bit of this black color berry in here would add a really interesting texture and an unexpected pop of black in this bouquet. Now, whenever you're doing a hand-tied bouquet, it's really important to have your mise en place in place. What I mean is all the flowers should be stripped of all the foliage. They should be easily accessible. That's why I have them laid out here. Because once you start doing your bouquet, you only have one hand. And it's hard to be fussing with the flowers and pulling leaves or thorns off if you only have one hand, right? So those of you who cook, you know what mise en place means. It just means you have all your ingredients trimmed and prepared for you. You know, all your garlic minced and your shallots diced, right? Okay, I'm gonna have the roses here next to me, the Protea here, the hydrangeas, and then these little spray roses tend to tangle with each other, so I'm gonna make sure I separate them from the mums. And because it doesn't take that very long to assemble your bouquet, I think it's fine to have everything out of water for the few minutes that it takes for you to do your bouquet. So this is how I usually do it. Have everything laid out. And then I'll start with something that will give me the form of the bouquet. Now, for many years, we're doing really clustered bouquets where, you know, all the roses were right next to each other. So you're just doing a dome of roses and you didn't have to worry about spacing between the roses. But now the fashion for bridal bouquets and bridesmaids bouquets is to have like a more free-form, natural-looking shape to the bouquets. So I have a sprig of seeded eucalyptus here that's perfect. It's very upright because often when you buy seeded eucalyptus, it just wants to cascade. It has no body or volume to it. This is a wonderful sprig that's upright, has lots of volume, and this will kind of serve as almost like a mechanic for us to do our bouquet. And then it's always nice to have some large flowers, like space filler flowers, like hydrangeas. So we've got these hydrangeas, these fall hydrangeas I'm going to use here, set in amongst the eucalyptus, and this gives you a nice base for your bouquet. Then what I do is I start adding in the larger focal flowers, like the roses and the Protea, which are our large focal flowers. And I tend to want to add things, you know, sort of in clusters, not necessarily in a big cluster. And then you just turn your bouquet every time you want to add something. It's not going to be a perfect spiral. I'm not that skilled. But you just want to make sure that you are not making it a lopsided bouquet, like too big on one side and not big enough on the other. Okay, so I'm just adding in the big flowers first, the heavier stem flowers too. Okay, I'm going to reserve some of the roses to use later on the perimeter because it's such a bright red color. I don't want it to just be in the very middle. Then I'm going to add in the Protea. Now, I don't often use Protea in bridal bouquets, but I thought this was really nice because, you know, I wanted sort of like the look of dahlias to kind of contrast with the roses, but I generally stay away from using dahlias in bouquets because they won't last very well out of water. So make sure most of the materials you select will last okay out of water. I added in the three Proteas. I'm going to just keep turning the bouquet so you can see what it looks like. You're just basically composing in your hand. Okay, it's already taking shape, right? It's about the size of a large bridesmaid's bouquet already. Then I'm going to add in some of this green because I don't know, I just feel like that grayish green is not vibrant enough. And then we add in all these brown and bronzes. It's almost too drab a palette. A little bit of this fresh green really just sets everything off. That's why I chose the fall hydrangea that has some of that fresh green and red in it. I always like a pop of fresh green just to make the bouquets, I don't know, more vibrant. It seems like this color just makes every other color near it more vibrant. Okay. Then I'm going to add in my accent flowers. So I'm going to use some of these mums. See, these mums are really beautiful when you look at them head on. When you're looking for flowers for bouquets, they should be beautiful when you look at it head on like this because the profile is not going to show that much. It's the top of the flower that's going to show the most. And it gives you that interesting hint of burgundy and burnt orange. See how that just really, really shows up, kind of a velvety looking texture to it almost. It's really nice that the weddings now are so varied. For a long time in the 90s and the 2000s, we were doing just the old style Martha Stewart weddings where we just have a dome of roses, either in like a champagne ivory or in 2000, the style was all red and silver. I've been through a lot of different eras in floral design. And now we don't do a lot of bows or anything like that. The ribbon's pretty subtle. Maybe a cascade of ribbon, but no bows. Okay, so I added in some of those mums. Then I think I'm going to go ahead and add in some of these spray roses. Spray roses are wonderful in bouquets because they magnify how many roses you have. It looks like you've got tons of roses, and it's less expensive than adding lots of large Ecuadorian roses. Plus, you need a different texture and different size flower to break things up a little bit. I think I've told you in many videos, often to achieve like a garden bouquet look, I will do like a large white rose, for instance, and some small white spray roses to look like it's like growing like a sprig from nature. Okay, and then turning. When I do these hand-tied bouquets, I wish I had really big man hands. Then I could hold them so much better. It's getting really heavy and really big. And there's just no, absolute formula where I say you have to do 3 of these, 4 of those. Kind of look at it and see what looks good to you, right? And they don't have to be perfect because we're trying to go for sort of a natural, wild, sort of bohemian looking autumn bouquet. Now, as the stems get long, the stems sometimes are really long. It's hard to turn. It hits your counter, your workspace. So just go ahead and cut it a little shorter. So I'm just cutting it a little shorter so that when I turn it, it doesn't hit the table all the time. Okay. So these 3 large roses I may or may not use. I'm going to set them aside right now. And then I'm going to add some of this thistle and the black privet berry. Now, I chose a thistle because I think it's a little bit unexpected to have this pop of cool color within this fall palette. I think this blue, this periwinkle blue, really sets off the yellow undertones and the orange. And I think this texture is wonderful for fall, right? A little bit rustic. I just love blue thistle. I love it with English roses also because it just looks so English. Always reminds me of like a Shakespeare garden. It's very subtle, the color, so I hope it comes through in the video. But that little hint of periwinkle blue with the orange and reds, just really, really charming. Okay. See, I feel like there's too many like small elements right here, so I'm going to go ahead and add one of these large roses. That's sort of how I do bouquets. You compose them in your hand. They move around a little bit and you're not sure. So that's why you reserve some of the larger materials so you can always add it in. If it looks too tight, like right here, you might want to add an accent right there. We still have this black privet berry to add in. I'm not sure if we're going to use it or not. I think so. I was concerned that this green foliage was really bad, but it's not too bad, right? Often I'll just pull the greenery off and just use the berries because a lot of times, you know, my problem with faux materials is the colors are egregious. But because we have that bright green of the scented geranium, I think this bright green doesn't stick out so badly. See, how do you like that? I think that black, pop of black between the red roses is really beautiful. Love it. Uh-oh, I'm reaching the maximum that my hand can hold. Well, if that happens, what I do is I tie off the bouquet and then you could keep adding. Because that often happens because I do have very small hands and we do use a lot of materials in here and we haven't even added in the greenery. So I might have to do that. See, I think there's too much of that seedy eucalyptus, so I'm going to add some of the little button mums in here, just so there's less of that eucalyptus. And you can always go in with your clippers too to clip something out if it feels like it's too much. So what I'm going to do is tie this off first before I add any more material because it's getting too big for my hand to hold and it's like cramping. But we still have a lot of greenery to add in, so I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. And once you tie it off, the flower shouldn't move around so much. Whereas before you tie it off, it's still moving around a little bit, right? Oh, I need to really go and buy some 1-inch tape. The 1-inch tape is great. It's twice the width of this small stem tape, so then it wraps your bouquet really perfectly. Now, I've always used this stem tape to wrap bouquets because I find that it gives a little bit. It's a little easier on the hands than a wire. And I don't know, I just like it. Usually what we do is we buy either green or white 1-inch tape. The white, if we're doing a ribbon wrap, that's going to be white so that your green stems show less. Sort of like a undergarment for your bouquet handle, if that makes sense. Okay. So if you're going to have some natural stems showing, then don't tape all the way down. Just tape the parts where you're going to have the ribbon wrap. Okay, and then I'm going to shorten the stems a little because then it's hitting the counter again because we're adding in these longer stems of mums. Okay, all right, so now what I'm going to do is kind of assess the bouquet. I think the heart of the bouquet, the main part of the bouquet is pretty much done. We've added in only 2 stems of the privet. I don't want to ever have just 2 stems, right, in the bouquet, so I'm going to add more of this in. And then I'm going to add in some of this beautiful maple around the perimeter to give it a even wilder, freer look. Okay, let me see. Where else do we need something? Maybe we add another stem of this papaya orange spray rose. Yeah, I think that'd be nice right here. So you'll go around the perimeter of bouquet and see that there's some places that need something, right? Just kind of assess, stop and assess. Stop and assess. Okay. I want to add some more of this Privet berry. I think I'll add a sprig right here. Then maybe one over here. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and add the maple. This maple is gorgeous. I cut it from my neighbor's garden with her permission. She's got tons of it, and we have the same gardener, and he's going to be here later this week, and he'll just cut it into a mushroom anyway. He trims her Japanese maple, unfortunately, into a round hedge. See how the maple just adds like frilliness around the edge? Love it. Nandina would be a great material for that. As I'm doing this video, it's not quite fall, so the Nandina is still all green, so we don't have any of that fall coloring yet on the Nandina. But if it's later in the year, then the Nandina would be wonderful. Nandina is also, the common name is heavenly bamboo. It's a great plant to have in the garden. It is really tough, withstands a lot of heat, you know, pretty much some drought, and it has beautiful green bamboo-like foliage. And red berries at Thanksgiving time. The best thing is it's a really long-lasting material. It's not that, you know, interesting a plant, but it's a great floral material. You see it a lot. It's very common around here. You see it in parking lots, such. So it's not a rare plant by any means. Okay. So that is the perimeter maple. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. And I didn't end up using any of this crepe myrtle that I picked, but I think that's enough. Okay. So now I'm going to tie this off. I'm going to just grab another length of this stem tape. This olive green stem tape is great too because it's such a natural looking green. The stem tape comes in many colors. They come in 3 or 4 different greens, white, black, brown. I've seen, you know, even like pink and blue. I've never used that before. So depending on what you're doing, I always have on hand a lot of variety of colors of tape too. I think it's because a lot of people do boutonnieres and then they don't finish off the stem of the boutonniere. They leave the tape stems showing. I don't do that. I think I showed you in my boutonniere video that we always finish it off with a ribbon because I think it just looks so much nicer. And it won't be sticky when the groom or the groomsman, you know, have to put it on their tux. In old days, we would just tape it off and then do like a little squiggly tail with the wire, the taped wire for like a little curlicule tail. I don't know, I can never get it to look really good. And so I just now always wrap the stem of the boutonnieres. Okay, so I've wrapped about 2/3 or so of the bouquet handle that I'm going to keep. This is way too long for a bridal bouquet handle to me. I'm going to cut it much shorter. Okay, and this is about the right length for a bouquet handle, I think. And then we're going to finish the part where we taped it off with the olive green tape with this beautiful aubergine velvet ribbon. So instead of like a white ribbon or an ivory ribbon, I'm just going to go with something that coordinates with the bouquet. It doesn't always have to match the bride's gown. You could do something, especially if they're doing a bold color or like these autumn colors, these jewel tone autumn colors, then it might be kind of cool to have this beautiful, expensive velvet ribbon in this beautiful eggplant color instead of a white. And I think the white would be, I don't know, too white against the bouquet, the flowers that we're using. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I fold the end that we just cut it back onto itself so that we don't have a raw edge. And then we have these little short pins that we used to secure it. And then we're going to go all the way up the ribbon, the wrapped part of the bouquet. That way it's very secure, it's not going to come off. And it looks nice, it looks like a little row of pearl buttons. Okay, and then after you do that, make sure your stems are clean. You don't have one sticking out that's too big, too long, you know, so it looks like it's pretty uniformly tied off. And that is a beautiful autumn bouquet. So we're all done with this spectacular autumn bridal bouquet. Now, it wasn't exactly easy, but it's doable. And I just really wanted to show you how to do a hand-tied bouquet with a lot of different textures and different materials. And I thought, why not use these beautiful fall materials that reflects the season? I hope you enjoy the video and learn something. As always, please like and subscribe, leave me a comment, and I will see you in my next video.